Hola mi gente. Welcome to an exciting exploration of the 20th century's musical revolution. This era was a melting pot of sounds, styles, and innovations that forever changed the way we experience music. Luisito Comunica here, ready to take you on a musical journey. From the early days of jazz to the rise of rock and roll, and everything in between, we're about to dive deep into the sounds that defined a century. The 20th century was a game changer for music. It was a time when music transitioned from being a mere form of entertainment to becoming a significant cultural force. It was like someone threw a musical bomb, and boom, everything changed. The advent of new technologies like the radio, phonograph, and later, the television, brought music into people's homes like never before. New technologies, new ideas, and new ways of life led to an explosion of musical creativity. Musicians were no longer confined to local audiences. They could now reach listeners across the globe. We're talking about the birth of genres that still make us move and groove today. Jazz, blues, rock and roll, and later hip-hop and electronic music all found their roots in this transformative century. This period saw music evolve at a crazy pace. Each decade brought something new and exciting, reflecting the social and political changes of the times. From the soulful sounds of jazz, which emerged from the African American communities in the early 1900s and quickly spread to become a global phenomenon, to the rebellious spirit of rock and roll, which captured the hearts of young people in the 1950s and 60s, challenging the status quo and giving a voice to a new generation. The 20th century was a wild ride. Music festivals became cultural landmarks, bringing together diverse groups of people to celebrate the power of music. It was a time when music became a powerful force for change, serving as the soundtrack for social movements and political protests. Songs became anthems for civil rights, peace, and freedom. A way to express yourself, to share your story, your struggles, and your dreams with the world. Musicians were not just entertainers, they were storytellers and activists, and a soundtrack for a whole generation. The music of the 20th century continues to influence and inspire us today, reminding us of the power of creativity and the universal language of music. Let's talk about rock and roll, baby. This genre didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was a cultural explosion that took the world by storm. Imagine the scene. The post-war era, a time of change and new beginnings. People were looking for something fresh, something that could break the monotony of their daily lives. And then, rock and roll came along, like a breath of fresh air. This genre was like a lightning bolt, shaking things up in the 1950s. Teenagers were the first to embrace it, finding in its rhythms and beats a form of expression that resonated with their own desires for freedom and rebellion. The jukeboxes in diners and dance halls blared out these new sounds, and suddenly, everyone wanted to be a part of this musical revolution. With roots in blues and country, rock and roll brought a new energy. It was a melting pot of different musical traditions, blending the soulful depth of blues with the storytelling of country music. This fusion created something entirely new and electrifying. Bands started to experiment with their sounds, pushing the boundaries of what was considered music at the time. It was loud, it was rebellious, and it made the older generation go, "What is this racket?" Parents and authority figures were often bewildered and even outraged by this new music. They saw it as a threat to the established order, something that could corrupt the youth. But for the teenagers, that was precisely the point. Rock and roll was their way of pushing back against the norms and expectations imposed on them. Elvis Presley, with his hip movements and catchy tunes, became the king of this new sound. He was more than just a musician. He was a cultural icon. His performances were electrifying, and his charisma was undeniable. Fans flocked to his concerts, and his records flew off the shelves. Elvis embodied the spirit of rock and roll, and his influence was felt far and wide. Chuck Berry's guitar riffs and Little Richard's wild performances added fuel to the fire. These artists brought their own unique styles to the genre, each contributing to its evolution. Chuck Berry's intricate guitar work and storytelling lyrics set a new standard for musicians, while Little Richard's flamboyant stage presence and powerful voice captivated audiences. Together, they helped to shape the sound and image of rock and roll. Rock and roll wasn't just music, it was an attitude, a way of life. It influenced fashion, language, and even social norms. Teenagers adopted new styles, from leather jackets to pompadour hairstyles, and they spoke a new lingo that set them apart from the older generation. Rock and roll became a symbol of youthful rebellion and a catalyst for cultural change, leaving an indelible mark on society. Jazz. Oh man, jazz. Born in the late 19th century, jazz blossomed in the 20th. This genre is all about improvisation, feeling the music, and letting it flow. Legends like Louis Armstrong with his powerful trumpet and Billie Holiday with her soulful voice became icons of jazz. From smoky jazz clubs to grand concert halls, this genre captivated audiences with its raw emotion and musical mastery. Electronic music emerged as something totally new. Using electronic instruments and synthesizers, musicians created sounds never heard before. Pioneers like Kraftwerk used these new tools to craft hypnotic rhythms and futuristic soundscapes. Electronic music pushed the boundaries of what music could be, paving the way for countless subgenres in the future. Section 5. Hip-hop. From the streets to the mainstream. Born on the streets of New York City in the 1970s, hip-hop brought a raw and energetic sound. With rapping, jing, breakdancing, and graffiti art, hip-hop was more than just music. It was a cultural movement. Artists like Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five used turntables as instruments, creating innovative beats. Run DMC brought hard-hitting rhymes and a rebellious attitude, pushing hip-hop into the mainstream. Section 6. Legends of the 20th Century. Shaping the sound of music. The 20th century was packed with musical legends who changed the game. These artists not only defined the sound of their era, but also influenced generations to come. Their music transcended boundaries and brought people together, creating a universal language that spoke to the hearts of millions. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, made music rebellious and shook up the world. With his unique voice and electrifying performances, Elvis broke the mold of traditional music and introduced a new, edgy style that captivated audiences everywhere. His influence can still be felt in today's rock and pop music. The Beatles, from Liverpool, England, became a global phenomenon. Their innovative approach to music, blending various genres and experimenting with new sounds, set them apart from their contemporaries. The Beatles' impact on music and culture was profound, and their legacy continues to inspire musicians around the world. Their catchy tunes and message of peace and love resonated with millions. The Beatles not only dominated the charts, but also became symbols of the counterculture movement of the 1960s. Their music provided a soundtrack to a generation seeking change and unity. Michael Jackson, the king of pop, combined incredible musical talent with dazzling showmanship, becoming one of the best-selling artists of all time. His groundbreaking music videos and innovative dance moves set new standards in the industry. Michael's influence extended beyond music, impacting fashion, dance, and pop culture as a whole. These legends left an undeniable mark on music. Their contributions helped shape the soundscape of the 20th century and laid the foundation for future artists. The legacy of Elvis Presley, the Beatles, and Michael Jackson is a testament to the power of music to inspire, transform, and unite people across the globe. Section 7. The 21st century, a digital revolution in music. The 21st century brought the internet. Music became instantly accessible. You can listen to anything, anytime, anywhere. This digital revolution changed how we consume and create music. Online platforms like YouTube and Spotify became the new stages for artists to share their music with the world. The way we listen to music changed forever. Section 8. New millennium, new genres, reggaeton, EDM, and trap. The 21st century saw the rise of even more new genres. Reggaeton, with its infectious beats and Latin rhythms, became a global dance craze. EDM, or electronic dance music, filled stadiums with its high-energy sounds and massive light shows. Trap, with its heavy bass and dark melodies, emerged from the hip-hop scene and influenced music worldwide. These genres, shaped by technology and global influences, represent the ever-evolving nature of music. Section 9. Music's everlasting influence. A universal language. From the jazz halls of the 20th century to the digital soundscapes of the 21st, music continues to evolve. It's a universal language that connects us all. Music has the power to inspire, to comfort, to challenge, and to unite. So put on your favorite tunes, turn up the volume, and let the music move you. It's a journey that never ends. Hasta la próxima.